Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
This was our Patreon exclusive this morning.
Indeed it was.
Yes, as Cindy had a channeling that came last night that was they were trying to get through all day, and I guess we were just wrapped up and busy. But they did make it through, so she went under, and we got a message about ships are in the sky, and they're ready. They are ready. We do have allies in this, albeit not always visible, but humanity does have beings that are watching out for them.
Mm-hmm. And when it's important, they just keep knocking until I answer.
And now that it's the Bronze Age and not the Kali Yuga, there's a different set of rules. And there's also really a different reality in and of itself that's coming to fruition. Again, you could join the Patreon family for as little as $1 a month and get exclusives. I think we had exclusives the last 3 days, if I remember right. Everything kind of blurs with the way that time is. It's just different.
It is. It's a little bit wonky these days.
Sure is. And talk about wonky. Global food prices. They keep climbing. This headline from Zero Hedge: climb towards Arab Spring era highs amid trade war turmoil. Yeah, I mean, we just went food shopping today, did a big food shopping, and, it wouldn't be so bad if that was enough food for the entire month. But that used to be the month's budget, what we spent today in one single day, which won't get us through the whole month. Again, this is what so many people are having a problem with. And then also the quality of the food. How safe is what we have been eating? Certainly in the United States, not so safe. As many countries won't allow some of our food to come into them. So when you look over here, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations reported Friday that its food price index, which tracks monthly changes in international prices of globally traded food commodities, averaged 128.3 points in April, up 1% from March and 7.6% from the same month last year. It's chaos. This is what we have, but it is organized chaos, and it has a purpose, and so many people realize what the purpose is. Quite simply, it's a great reset of the financial system, of the whole economic system. It's been telegraphed for so long. Here you have Temu ends China shipments to United States after Trump closes de minimis loophole. Container volumes at one of America's busiest ports falling fast. The 145% tariffs on Chinese goods entering the U.S. wreaking havoc on trans-Pacific containerized trade, triggering a sharp decline in shipments from Chinese ports. On Friday, Chinese e-commerce giant Temu halted U.S. deliveries after the Trump administration closed the de minimis loophole, which had previously allowed a flood of Chinese junk under $800 to enter tariff-free. There's a lot of things that you're just not going to be finding on Amazon and other big suppliers. You have Warren Buffett stepping down as Berkshire CEO at year-end as cash hoard hits record $348 billion. Interesting times. There's so many changes of so many of the big faces and power brokers across the globe. And it would be a good video to do, to put together, let's say, all the top echelon politicians in financial persona that are no longer in their positions from, say, January of 2020, when the plague upon the land hit, to right now, because man, things have changed. Man, have things changed. And it's not only Buffett, but you have Bezos dumping $4.7 billion Amazon stock. This is not the first time. He offloaded 25 million Amazon shares worth $4.7 billion. He had done it previously, and even more. He's sold 75 million Amazon shares last year through similar plans. What's really going on here? Well, of course, just like Nancy Pelosi, those in these positions of power and influence understand the bigger picture. So this is why, again, they tend to make out very, very well when you have economic turmoil. The new era, Bitcoin-backed monetary system. Since the collapse of Bretton Woods in 1971, U.S. dollar has functioned as a fiat currency. The petrodollar agreement in 74 tied the dollar indirectly to oil, reinforcing global demand for the dollar. Today, with increasing skepticism toward fiat currencies in general, and a rising interest in decentralized assets like Bitcoin, the U.S. could consider a new monetary system backed by Bitcoin as a digital, scarce, and decentralized asset. Bitcoin effectively delivers a more modern, automated, and software-based approach to central banking. This piece explores the viability of Bitcoin-backed monetary system in the context of key historical financial developments. Well, many of those that follow crypto don't think Bitcoin is going to be the actual use currency of the land, let's just say. Many believe it will be actually XRP and XLM, or perhaps some other ones. But this is just a look at how did we get here. Again, with the end of World War II, we had a new power structure in place. And then also with the collapse of the Soviet Union, everything kind of accelerated to the point where the U.S. was by far the dominant power on the land. Now you have the rise of BRICS. You have the rise of decentralized finance, DeFi. And, of course, in October 2008, you have that release of the Bitcoin white paper. In the wake of the global financial crisis of 2008, and major bank failures, an anonymous inventor known as Satoshi Nakamoto published Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. The paper described a transaction network requiring no third-party financial institutions or government intermediaries at all. So can we basically have a monetary system where you don't have the banking overlords like the Rothschilds and Rockefellers, etc., or any governments necessarily sticking their noses into our business? By the way, EU to ban anonymous crypto and privacy tokens by 2027. The European Union set to impose sweeping anti-money laundering rules that will ban privacy-preserving tokens and anonymous cryptocurrency accounts from 2027. This is under the new anti-money laundering regulation. Credit institutions, financial institutions, and crypto asset service providers will be prohibited from maintaining anonymous accounts or handling privacy-preserving cryptocurrencies like Monero and Zcash. Can you see where all this is leading? Well, this was a fun video. This is Bull Runners. They do crypto. They're talking about Ripple XRP and the CIA declassified. Again, there's so much there in the CIA Freedom of Information Act library that you can read, and some of it will blow your minds, and some of it, not so much. But this one is interesting, and instead of trying to do a whole video kind of rehashing what he was saying, I just will give you guys the link to this. But in case you don't know, crypto comes from kryptos, which is Greek for hidden, of course, cryptography, cryptic, everything about, hidden in so many ways. But then when we look at these public ledgers, that we see, the blockchain is not really hidden. The blockchain itself is out there in the open. And as I had mentioned in one of our recent videos, there's some, again, in government, and, people like the Warren Buffetts, the Bezoses, the real ultra-rich, the Gil Bates guys. I don't think, and certainly Nancy Pelosi, I don't think they want us seeing every little transaction they're doing, but they want to see every transaction that we're doing, even down to just a few $100s. Well, it turns out that you go all the way back to 1988, and you could see that the plans for crypto were already, getting ready to be set in stone. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So this is really, really interesting stuff. In the late 1980s, under a GSA program, the CIA commissioned Washington artist James Sanborn to create a series of sculptures for the CIA's new headquarters building, working together with, and there's some info there, one person that was soon to retire from the Office of Communications. Sanborn created a sculpture named Kryptos that was dedicated in 1990 and now resides in the northwest corner of the courtyard. The curved verdigris scroll contains an 865-character coded message that seems to flow out from a petrified tree and is located near a water-filled basin bordered by various types of stones. And it describes how he has deciphered most of the secret message contained within the sculpture. In some ways, this was reminding me of the Georgia Guidestones in some ways. Very fascinating, very, very fascinating, especially when we go back and we watch everything unfold. We understand that the control system wants to take us to a new currency. They want it to be digital. They want it to be totally controllable, and where they can even allot us. I mean, ultimately, when you look at like the few, for instance, the program is to have people getting monthly income. You don't have to work anymore. No, you'll just get your basic universal income. And what you don't use, you can't save. No, it'll just get washed away. So you might as well use it. It'll be a certain amount. And, again, this is part of how they're really selling us, in my opinion, slavery. And a slavery which is going to seem appealing to some people because they can stay home all day and just play video games if they so choose. Well, again, this has been in the plan for a very, very long time. Since its dedication on November 3rd, 1990, there's been much speculation about the meaning of the 4 encrypted messages. Of these 4 messages, first 3 have been solved, while the 4th message remains one of the most famous unsolved codes in the world. It's said that a 5th message will reveal itself after the first 4 are solved. The sculpture continues to be of interest, and crypto analysts, both amateur and professional, who are attempting to decode the 4th passage. The artist has so far given 4 clues to the passage. Everything that we see, and so many people realize now, and I see people in all of the different forums that I go on, which, again, sometimes it's MMA, sometimes it's history, you name it, things I'm just interested in outside of the usual. And people are waking up to the fact that everything that we watch is really a drama. And, politicians are actors, and at the same time, they're supposed to stay on script. Every so often, they might go off script, and then they get into trouble. But the whole thing about, shifting to electronic, a financial system, completely electronic and completely being able to watch every single detail of every single transaction has been planned really since before any of us were born. No matter when you were born, pretty much, unless we have an immortal walking around here. So it's fascinating that this is coming from the CIA. And also when you look deeper, here you have a government official saying, CIA, Bitcoin's here to stay. Cryptocurrency is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. We just have to make sure that we are the leader in the systems. So, when you look at this is the system that they're putting in. Now, centralized bank digital currency, where the banking system stays intact, or really, again, nothing changes, it's just a more restricted form, is something that many in the crypto world do not want to see at all. They don't want to see the same banking cabal in charge. And really, many people look at crypto as the hope against the banking cabal, the Rothschilds, etc., and the dark control matrix itself. They see this as a way to create more fairness in society. Again, what I think I want to get across is the fact that we are in a ascending phase. So the light is actually growing, and you're not going to be able to hide things anymore at all as people become more perceptive. This is why, again, they've been fluoridating the water for so long. And also overloading us with heavy metals and different toxins. Or I saw there was 90 million, headline, 90 million Americans are on different type of, mind-altering big pharma, which is not good, because, again, that's going to alter our perceptions. We're not going to be as clear. We're not going to be as sharp. And we're going to definitely dull our ability to read into other densities and to read the energies of different people themselves. So while in reality, this whole situation, who was Satoshi Nakamoto in the first place? Was he really just simply a byproduct of the CIA, the NSA, the FBI, the MI6, even Mossad? That may not be the main thing to uncover, but the potential to heist from the hands of the system some freedom wherever we can grab it may be the thing to realize. Again, we are dependent on the system for power, and also you'll hear people talk about with crypto, as long as there's a computer that could be plugged in, you can access things, and owning your own codes, so to speak, to, cold wallet storage, things like that. In the crypto world, there's a whole language to learn in regards to this. And many people don't want to learn it. That certainly was me. I didn't want to learn it. I didn't want to get into this at all because I just viewed the entire thing as a system. And, how long will the powers stay up? Well, again, I think things typically take longer to develop than we might want. And, when you look at the power staying up, even though they might bring us 3 days of darkness, as far as internet darkness goes, they don't want the power down for long, because the power and the technology is how they control us. So they don't want it staying down for long. And, they just want it down long enough to switch the system and to put things in place, which they feel will guarantee them continued control over the resource of humanity on our portion of planet Earth. But instead of being in the descending phase, we're on the ascending phase. So, they're not going to be able to get what they want.
It is very hard to be in the world, but not of it. And I think it is a bit of an art form in kind of straddling the system and still being able to be comfortable, yet not be owned. We don't want to be owned. I think that's key. And that is going to take some doing, in my humble opinion, because I don't see a way around it. I do see this thing creeping up on us with technology. And for you to be comfortable, somewhat comfortable, we're going to have to somehow deal with it and go around it where we can, but use it where we have to, and just get through it. It's not a nice thought. It's not a pretty thought. And if there are those out there that are already self-sustaining, that's wonderful. That's great. But it can take generations to start a farm like that and have all the food that you need coming in, and the processes going around it to keep everything going the way it needs to go. And sometimes still you need help from the system out there. So I don't know. I'm watching this. I'm doing my best to straddle, and I'm doing my best to be myself and be authentic to me, yet understand that this is the world that we live in. And sometimes you just need to really know what's going on. That's kind of what I'm picking up. Just know what you're getting into, and know that there's no certainty in anything. This is something that I think we have to all be very, very careful about, And we know that, but at the same time, just kind of keep yourself padded, keep yourself protected, and never let your guard down.
So as you can see, some of these, quotes about SWIFT working on agreement to use XRP for cross-border payments. And also, XLM is another possibility for more of the public as far as exchanges. We're not endorsing crypto, and we're not damning it either. I think, again, as the one thing I'll share from today's Patreon exclusive was, again, the guides are recommending you unplug 1, 2, 3 days a week, as much as you could. And again, when you unplug, you're going to find that reality has shifted a lot. It's changed a lot. We are in the process of tremendous change. And you can't underestimate the change. And right now, what the system is trying to do, this, by the way, is that sculpture that they're talking about. The system is just trying to maintain the status quo for as long as it possibly can, which, again, is not going to be too much longer because it's already dissolving and fraying at the ends. When we were talking about the EU, I think, again, when you look at the old system, where do you see primary examples of the old system? Obviously, the EU is a prime example of the old system. Look at everything that's happened also in Canada, New Zealand, Australia, as far as the governments. There is definitely a different mindset. Again, the U.S., a lot of the people in the U.S. Just won't accept some things that other people have accepted, just maybe out of pure defiance, or maybe it's in the water, but they will be trying everything they can, and I do think we'll see a replay of 2020 with them telling us to stay put for a while at some point in time. But I don't think people will. I think people have had enough of the system, and they're not going to go along with the system. I'll give you links to this. It's fascinating stuff. But what else does it uncover? Well, if you look at gematria, because he gets into gematria and looks at the numerical value of letters and things like that, plugging this into a geometric calculator, it literally gave them back XRP and XLM. So, going back to the 80s, was it already predetermined that the system that would be in place is the system that many people believe will eventually be put in place with XRP and XLM as, the actual global highway network, so to speak, that transactions will go on. Time will tell. There could be curveballs, and again, the thing is human consciousness. Human consciousness is the big caveat, because again, we can change timelines. It's not written in stone, and the reality is, I believe that they have failed miserably in their pursuit of a lot of objectives, a lot of forecasts that have not come true. But of course, the dark matrix is a very dangerous thing, and again, they go about and scurry in the dark purposely. They really don't want everything being out there for everybody to see, and there's already, again, laws going in about that. So I just thought this was really, really fascinating, and gets into all sorts of stuff. I mean, it was like, wow, you guys are conspiracy theorists. And it got me thinking, going all the way back to my own awakening, which was happening around this time, around the harmonic convergence. And truly, that is when things started to change. In my perception, that's when I started to actually see energy. And everything just kind of changed. Now, as far as a sign of the times, over here you have Zero Hedge. Again, they're all finances and financial news. They're announcing a Rancher Direct Meet and more in partnership with the Beef Initiative. So what you're seeing is, again, a lot of people realizing, and I see it in our own farmers markets, where they're saying, hey, oh, by the way, we don't use steroids, no hormones injected here. It's something that people are waking up to, and this is great, I think. Again, we're not associated with this zero hedge initiative, but what they have here is a lot of places you can order from, Rancher Direct, and get stuff that is safe, much safer than what you see in the store. We went by a couple of different barbecue stands when we were out, and oh my God, it smelled so good. It smelled so insanely good, but we would never stop and eat there because, again, we don't know what's in there. There could be some of the alphabet soup stuff, some of the black goo in there, and we certainly don't need that in these times. And part of making food so expensive is to make really, true, as organic as you could get in this world, food super expensive. So people won't do it. So these are some small family farms right here, where you could buy stuff that people understand the things that we understand. And so, I'll give you guys all the links. It's not cheap. People will say, wow, $247 for some steaks? Yeah, I mean, it's crazy expensive. Literally today when we went out food shopping, it was like $600. But we'll try to stretch it for a month as much as we possibly can. But, it's not going to be the case. But, hey, we got peppers growing, we got tomatoes growing, we got herbs growing, and we're in a good zone for growing things, and we do plan on having our own chickens. I have bought from North Star Bison in the past. And again, it's not cheap, but they do not, and we're not affiliated with any of these. So, nothing that you buy goes to us at all. We're just sharing sources, because I've heard a lot of times people say, I hear I can't afford to eat healthy. But if you're not here, hello, because what's out there that's not healthy is really unhealthy, in my opinion. Again, we're only sharing our opinion and what we've seen. But yes, we could tell you North Star is definitely good quality stuff. We've ordered from them several times. There was a time when Cindy truly her body needed liverwurst, so it actually needed what was in liver. So this was the place we found with liverwurst that we could trust the most. And they ship it with dry ice, so it literally comes in like 3 days time shipping wise, but it comes out perfectly frozen, so it's very, very safe. Oh, I just thought this was kind of cute. This is updating the site with price tracker of LinkedIn and Locked In, because crypto is all about the PvP BS. Locked in, where your degenerate crypto resume really shines. Apply now to be locked in. I think they got another locked in plan for us, and it might not be too far away. I think it's definitely in the plan. So again, be aware of that. Again, we're not advising crypto as a resource, but everybody has to make your own decision. I do feel very safe with silver, and gold is at all-time highs, been at all-time highs. It just came down about 10%, but again, hit an all-time high this year. And there's talk of gold going to $10,000 an ounce in some circles. So, again, it's all a means to an end. It's the best thing is to be as self-sufficient as possible, and to know people you can count on, that also are aware and awake of all the things we are when it comes to health and well-being. And this takes me right back to 1975, maybe 74, 75 for myself. I had one of those. He hits pretty good.
This little boy is so cute. This takes me back. I mean, I really wish we could just kind of reel it back to the 1980s, ish, 90s, and a little bit of a different time, but we can't do that. Here we are, and we have to kind of take what we have and work with it to the best of our ability and share with friends or family and, ask for help if we need it. We're in a different time now. It's kind of a scary time, but we're going to get through it together.
Yes, absolutely. I will share that I do know people that are planning to use and have been using crypto with a short-term plan to get completely out of it and to try to get completely out of the entire system as being the ultimate goal, but at the same time utilizing it until their inner voice says, okay, it's time to pull out. It is definitely risky. You can lose everything. Just to reiterate, it's generally thought to be much more risky than stocks. Again, though, we are heading into an obvious market correction of a sort we probably have never seen in our lifetimes. So tread cautiously, try to be as self-sufficient as possible, and build up that network of friends and family that you can count on.
Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.